All right, Christian, how are you today?
Man, I'm living the dream.
Living the dream. I love that. Well, thank you for coming here. Thank you for actually being part of this interview. It's very important for me, and I'm very curious to hear from you.
Yeah, anything to support.
Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you. All right, so I got this first question. In your experience, what strategy works best in developing school culture and identity?
So, this is my fifth year teaching, right? And so this is one, two, three, the fourth school that I've been at. And so I will say this is the first year I feel like we've worked on actually establishing a stronger school culture rather than like it's like, oh, here's the starting race, everyone's running out the door and going. And it seems like this year, like Mr. Ortega has actually done a pretty good job of like trying to establish like this is where we want to go, this is how we want it to feel for everybody.
Right.
And I think he started off pretty strong with the beginning of the school year meeting, like we're going to establish SOPs, we're going to have these like standards that every teacher is going to be operating under, or this general kind of like consensus amongst all the teachers. And then again, like that first day when we were back in the cafeteria, like getting input from teachers, what works, what doesn't work, answering questions for each other as a group.
Right.
And it seemed like it was establishing amongst the teachers like a very collaborative, like no stupid questions type of thing, let's figure things out together.
Right.
And I think that's shown throughout the school year. Now, well, I won't say it's perfect yet, but I think kind of setting the foundation for it right now is going to help out in the future years to come. So I think that's been something that's really like helped create that school culture, or establish like where we're going to be heading. Because you know, the school saying is like, you know, this is STEM, this is our school. So rather than like dictating this is exactly what you're going to do, it's like
Right.
it's more let's talk about this. Let's solve these problems as a group and go from there.
Yeah, I also felt that more than words on the wall, we want to share the vision. Everybody has their input.
Right.
Everybody's heard.
Right.
And as I said, it's not perfect yet, but we are on the way.
Yeah, it's definitely we're moving in. It feels like we're moving in the right direction. Because like I remember last year, they kind of threw us that Kafooty thing.
Yes.
Right, and we still had the posters on the wall, Kafooty. But then it was like I was probably guilty of this, but like, I was kind of making fun of it because I was like, that's such a silly thing. Like they're kids, they're gonna go and hug each other, they're gonna do all these things. Like, especially you think about sixth graders coming straight from elementary where it's very touchy and everything like that. Like, it's tough to kind of in that culture as soon as they walk through the door.
Abruptly, yeah.
And like even in high school, like they're gonna hug each other, say hello, all that jazz. So it seemed counterintuitive to like fight something that like that's just ingrained in the culture of the school. So this year again, I think it's like giving the kids the room to breathe. Like even with the transitions, like you notice how well it's working. Like there's still dumb things that happen. Kids are kids, but I mean, how many kids do we have like just trying to walk in late? Like it's gone from a regular thing to all right. Once the doors close, they got to do it. I think I had one last week, and that was it out of all 6 classes. So I was like, okay, this is working.
In one semester.
Right, like once they know like it's locked, they can't just walk in and oh perfect, and go to get this work. Then it's like perfect.
Yeah, I feel the same way too.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the second question here. What resource do you want in your classroom to support your teaching and learning?
So I think for me, I would really like a light that stays on, but no. No, I think. Let's see. I was thinking about this earlier, and I know one of the things I really want to start like having is ways to like reward the students because that seems to be like a very extrinsic motivator for them. And so like it'd be nice to have like small things that I could like pull from, whether it's from the office or whatnot. Like I started doing this last semester with the kids. And I don't do it every day. It's like on rare days where I'm like asked. It's a lot of discussion.
Okay.
But I give them. They have 2 tiers of rewards. And the first tier is these little duckies. So if you've ever seen them hanging around the wall,
I've seen them already.
Yeah, it's me.
One of the students gave me one of those.
Yeah. So it's like it's such a small like thing, and it's kind of cool because when I did the training for this, they were talking about like it's such a small thing. Those like $20 for like 300 of them, but the kids go crazy for it. Like they want specific colors, they want the ones they want themselves. Like, all right, this is an easy one. But then like even bigger rewards, where it's like, okay, maybe they get candy, this little fake $100 bill, like, and I kind of make it kind of fun and a little stupid. Like I have random things that are not useful, like a string, right? So they get to choose which one. And
Okay.
so, and these are for harder questions. So. But it's like things like this, like I have to buy with my own money, so it'd be nice to have like a little bit of a discretionary fund. Like, go get some candy for them. Like a bag of candy is what, $5, $6. I don't know.
It's funny because I try to do the same thing. I have some NASA stickers.
Yeah.
But the point is, some students love it. Some students don't care about what's NASA. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. So
we need to try to
something that matters to them, like a collectible ducky. It's simple. And it's nice because the duckies are actually like relevant because, you know, if you can explain to the duck what your program is supposed to do, then you can clearly understand it, or you know. So it works for that. But it's like a very small tool, but it motivates kids. Like I see more hands popping up when I ask them with this out than when I don't. And
that's a strategy to change the culture of your class as well,
right?
Because they will be engaged, they will be like responsiveness.
And like I see like I don't know if I'm allowed to say a student name or not, like first name or whatever. So like Jeremiah in 6th grade, like he's one of the students. He's got ants in his pants. He's got to be moving a lot. But I've noticed like the first week or two, he was very difficult to like get him to focus in on what he's doing. And like I started using these to like talk to him and stuff like that, and then like being able to have that conversation, and his demeanor in class is like done a total 180. Like he's giving me answers that like I wouldn't even thought about like adding on there. Like we were talking about let me see if I can minimize this. We were talking about like this stuff with the websites, and they had to tell me for their little do now, what do they know how to do for the code on all this, and what don't they know how to do. So they haven't learned any of like the styles, like the red, the underline, the italicize. But he saw the underline, and he was saying it could be a link to another website. And like it's not, but like nobody else all year is giving me that answer as something. So it's like it's a totally different way of thinking for them. And so it was like, okay, let's build on that. So yeah, you know, like finding that topic that gets them really excited, and this kind of helps get that out of them. Because
we know students are capable of anything.
Right.
But if they're not interested, they're not engaged.
And sometimes it's not that they're not interested, they're going to give you something that's like not what you were thinking about. Like it'll be out of left field, and if you can find a way to like get that out of them and then bring them back in, then cool, like go for it. So these little extra intrinsic tools to like get them to start responding to you. And then I think one of the other things is like I started doing like positive phone calls or messages home, like whether the student knows I'm doing it, like, hey, call your mom, let's give her a good call, a phone call, or I'm just going to secretly send a message on Class Dojo. So I think that's been helpful as a resource. So more ways to like reach out, do like just the nice things for the kids to keep that positive behavior going.
Right.
So
totally
that'd be good.
Can I see the next question, please?
Oh yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
Let's see.
All right. So next question: if you had to give a new principal advice, you're talking to me now, about conflict management in a school community, what advice would you give?
So this is the one question I have thought about the most, I think, out of all 4 of these. So my best answer is it depends. Like whenever you have a conflict, like there's so many factors to like consider. But I think the first thing that you need to consider is your individual management style.
Sure.
Like how do you just in general prefer to lead people? Are you very hands-on? Do you want to like go show? Are you more like, hey, show me what you got and we can work with that? Like more laissez-faire. So once you figure out like your individual preferred management style, and knowing full well like it might change from person to person.
Sure.
I think that's going to drive how you decide what sort of management or what sort of conflict management you're gonna use.
Correct.
And then from there, understanding the individual motivators between the two or more, whatever parties are actually having that conflict, that's going to be it too. That's, I think, the next step is understanding that part. So, you know, if it's between someone on staff and someone on staff, right? Like, those are two very distinct motivators that are going to be pushing those people to run into each other or have that conflict. So you have to understand, like, what is it that they both need and what is it that they both want.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and then on the flip side, if it's like an instructor or someone on the staff with a student or with a parent, because, you know, it happens.
Right.
That part, like, I mean, you definitely need to, like, work with the teacher to handle the student situation, that student side. But then if you don't agree with what the teacher's doing, that's a conversation, like, offline, like aside, pull them into a closed room or something like that, but after the student has been handled, right?
Yeah. My question is, how important there will be like a school policy, because school policy needs to be followed, of course. But how flexible can we be with that policy? How, as you said, we do have different personalities and we can address conflict in different ways, according, of course, to the situation. And sometimes you just need to have the ethical behavior that says, but you know what? Even though Johnny is a very good student, I know, but he's breaking the policy somehow.
Right.
Would it be rigid to say he needs a punishment? It doesn't matter how good a student or how good behavior he has.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the situation the opposite. Students who are in trouble every other week, and sometimes people say that they did something, and because sometimes we tend to it's this student again.
Right.
It's
It's easy to kind of be like, they're always doing
that, so he deserves another punishment.
Right.
And the other who has never been in trouble, so no, I'll be more flexible with him.
Yeah.
So my question is, how flexible should we be, or if we should be flexible, depending on the student, and depending on the situation, and depending on the personality of whoever is managing it.
Yeah. So I think, again, from the teacher perspective, I think the situation is like, you need to know what is it that's best for the whole classroom, right? So like, you got a student that just can't stay seated, and maybe it's not that, maybe they have like ADHD, like ants in the pants kind of style, like they just need to get up and be doing something, but you're trying to teach a lesson up front. Then it's like, okay, if I can't find a way to get you to at least like settle and try to listen, like, or at least just settle, and I can do one-on-one with you after everyone's going, then I need to find a way to remove you, because then it's a detriment to the greater like number of students, right? And it's not that you'd want to get them in trouble necessarily type of thing. It's more that you've got a large number of students that you also have to consider. So I think it takes an understanding of what your students' needs are in order to address how to like solve that, I guess, the issue. Does that make sense?
Yes, it is.
So going from the teacher perspective to like going into the office or an administrative perspective, it's very important that you have that teacher's back and understand, like, most teachers, I won't say most, won't just send a student out just because they don't like the student, right? They'll send the student out for either being, they'll send the student out because it is becoming a distraction or because of some serious issue. And so understanding what's going on, listening to the student side, but holding them in place, and then talking to the teacher about what is actually happening.
Right.
And then coming to a consensus, like, this is our course of action for this.
Right.
But at least you all understand that side of the student, like what they need and what's going on. Because maybe in the office they can like talk and figure out like there's more to it. There's a background to what's going on. So,
what if the conflict is between two adults?
So looking at it from, I think it's similar thing for like if it's between a teacher and a parent, right?
Yes.
Like, because that might happen too. So it's understanding the teacher side, what's going on, why are we saying what we're saying, like what's the actual issue for the classroom or for your content, and then making sure you're having that teacher's back, even if you don't agree with it, then still working to find that consensus.
Correct.
But not showing that disagreement to the parent or to the other adult, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can say like, so I think there was one time last year where there was a sub in your room and Cameron in sixth grade last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what, like I got called into the room because I guess the sub heard something and said it was Cameron that did it. I obviously wasn't there, but I had to get pulled into the office to talk with the parents about it, and I was like, look,
okay.
I had to tell them like I wasn't there. This is just what I was told. And then next semester I get to know Cameron, like that's not something like that. I was like, I don't think so.
Exactly.
But still, like you had to have that teachers. You have to tell them like this is what they said was going on, and I'll be honest, and like I wasn't there, but this is the situation. And so Mr. Ortega, I think, kind of navigated that one pretty well because both parents were there and like they wanted to know so that they could support what we were saying, but they also wanted the truth of what was happening. So I think that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to our last question then. Which federal, state, or district mandate works best to support teaching or learning? I would say and learning.
Yeah, and learning. So let's see. This is the one that I was like, I like from an elective perspective, right? Not a core teacher, not a tested subject yet. I actually like that they're bringing the computer science standard as a requirement for graduation because it's a 21st century skill. I mean, it is rapidly advancing. So if you
That's a district mandate.
It's a state mandate.
Or is it state?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And I'm not sure about federal, but I'd be surprised if it's not something that's maybe not a mandate, but like a strongly encouraged type of thing. But I like that is something that is like being pushed and being required for students. Now, I do think that there needs to be something more like push it for the elementary for each level. So that the students, as they're moving from one level to the next, so primary to secondary to tertiary, whatever, they'll have like an increasing understanding of like how to use Excel. Because how many times do we have to like, here's a whole lesson on Excel spreadsheets, like,
yes.
And it's like, okay, well, it would be nice if you had that, which I guess middle school would be good for Excel, but here's how you write a document on Microsoft Word or something like that. Like those are like foundational skills that you will need in college, or even if you go off into a trade, you don't think about it, but
you need those.
You're gonna end up using those somehow, some way. That's why I kind of put those posters up there about like the Google resources, like.
Oh, okay.
Because even if you don't care about it, like if you're gonna go and be a cosmetologist or something like that, like you're still gonna end up using Excel spreadsheets, right? Like you need to do your math.
You still have to pay a taxes. You still have to.
Right. So it's a very foundational thing for whatever goal you're going to use. So I like that. I think that's something that could be expanded on even. So yeah, I think that's something that does support teaching because it even goes into like your core classes. Like we're going to have the Black History Month presentation, and guaranteed those students are going to be using Google Slides to do their presentations, right? And so just having that skill to like talk in front of people and everything, using Google Docs to start creating their action plans for their science projects or to help get their talking points going, right?
Right.
So I think that's something that's super important for them, and it's actually going to end up helping them like in their academic careers and professional careers. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was awesome. Great conversation.
You got it, man.
And I don't know. if there is a next time, I'll be back.
All right, good. Hopefully I answered all these questions correctly. Let me know what my score is. And
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Do you want a ducky?
2 of them.
Yeah.